we're going to look at some things I found that do not come from a happy time in the history of our country. Here is a soldier's cap and the jacket to his uniform. Here is the saber that same soldier might have used. Oh. And here is his belt with a pouch for holding bullets. All these things were used or worn during what is known as the Civil War. Now, our country was not fighting another country in that war. Instead, because not all Americans thought alike or believed that everybody in the country had the same rights, Americans who lived in the north of our country were fighting fellow Americans who lived in the south. Oh, it was a bad time. And not just for the soldiers. Oh, their families suffered as well. I think we'll find that out in today's story. It's about a young boy whose mother had made him a uniform just like his father's. As Martin Emery walked slowly up the lane, he kept saying to himself,
"Flour and sugar and butter and eggs. Flour and sugar and butter and eggs."
Martin had heard his mother whispering these words again and again these past few days. Oh, she needed so many things for Martin and his 3 little sisters. When Father had been at the fort nearby, he saw to it that Mother had these things. But he was gone, and he would be gone for a long time. Martin felt he must somehow take his father's place and help. After all, he wore a uniform now just like his father's. Martin looked up the road. It was Saturday, and time for Snowden and Nellie to appear. Soon, Martin heard the bell on Nellie's neck. He heard the creaking wheels of Nellie's cart. Then he saw the cart piled high with vegetables. He saw Snowden, but Snowden didn't see Martin. Snowden was frowning and looking at a paper and mumbling.
I sure gotta make a lot of money today. I sure got to. There's flour to get for Rose Bell, and sugar, and butter, and eggs.
But if Snowden didn't see Martin, Nellie did. Nellie stopped still, and Martin climbed up on the seat. Snowden blinked with surprise.
"May I go to Washington with you, Snowden?"
Does your mother know?
"She knows. That's why she let me wear my new suit."
Snowden looked at Martin. He saw the soldier-like cap and the shiny buttons.
Nice, Martin. Just like your father's.
Father's regiment brought Mother the cloth and the buttons.
As the cart moved on toward Washington, Martin asked,
"When the war is over, will my father come home, Snowden?"
All the war prisoners will come home then, Martin. All those that the Northern Army has taken will go back south to their homes. And all those that the Southern Army has taken will go back to their homes.
I wish the war was over now.
So do I. Abraham Lincoln does too, I reckon.
Martin knew who Abraham Lincoln was. His picture was in their house. He never could decide which picture he liked better, that of his father or of Abraham Lincoln. His mother said they were both very important people. She had told Martin that Mr. Lincoln was the best president the country had ever had, and his father was the best cobbler. Nellie thumped across the bridge that led from Alexandria into Washington, D.C. Martin kicked his feet back to feel whether the empty basket was under the seat. It was. Oh, Martin knew what would happen to that basket. When they came to the first house, Snowden began to call.
Squash, beans, and taters, garden fresh, beans, squash, and taters.
After every sale, Snowden would put a scoop of beans or taters or maybe a big squash into the basket under the seat. When everything else was sold, that basket would be quite full. Then, when they went home, Snowden would tell Martin's mother that he had some leftovers in the basket. that she could help him out by using them. Had it not been for Snowden's leftovers, Martin knew that he and his family would be hungry more often than they were. Oh, now if they just had sugar and butter and flour and eggs, Martin sighed. Snowden had been watching Martin. Now he said,
Wars which put fathers in prison when they are needed at home are a bad thing.
Martin nodded. He swallowed the lump in his throat and called,
Squash and beans and taters, garden fresh, beans and squash and taters.
Martin's voice didn't sound very cheerful, and by the end of the morning it began trailing after Snowden's like a small echo. It was a very hot day. Snowden decided that he would leave Martin in a cool spot while he went off to buy Rosebell's groceries. So, when they came to a big park-like place, Snowden called,
Whoa, Nellie. Martin, you just stay here and rest until Nellie and I come back. It's a good place for anyone in a uniform like yours. There's been lots of soldiers on this line, I can tell you. I've seen them sleeping here, and I've seen them jump up and stand proud and straight when Abraham Lincoln came along.
Abraham Lincoln came along here?
Of course, Martin. See that building there? That's the Capitol building.
Martin stood on the ground and stared. Snowden and Nellie started to leave, and then Snowden remembered something.
I almost forgot. Rosebell gave me a sandwich for you, Martin, and an apple.
I have a sandwich.
Martin did not take his sandwich out of his pocket, for he did not want Snowden to see how small and thin the sandwich was.
You'd better take this. Rosebell made it special.
Thank you.
Martin thought he would take just a bite or two from the sandwich and save the rest for his sisters. He sat on a park bench. He ate his thin sandwich. He ate a little of Snowden's thick one. Then he wrapped it back up in its paper and laid it on the bench. When he wasn't looking, a squirrel slipped onto the bench and grabbed at the sandwich. It fell and landed in a puddle. Oh, Martin could have cried, but he didn't. He would save all of the apple, he decided. He would not take even one bite. The sun was hot. Martin went over and sat down on the cool stone steps of the Capitol building. Then, as always when he was alone, Martin began thinking about his father. The lump in his throat began to grow. He heard someone coming down the steps behind him. Martin watched as a long shadow moved over the step. Then the shadow stopped still. A voice just in back of Martin said,
Well, well, how's my little soldier?
When his father's friends said that, Martin always did as his father had taught him, jumped to his feet and saluted. So he sprang to his feet now. As his fingers touched his little blue cap, Martin's heart began to thud like a drum. Abraham Lincoln was standing there. Abraham Lincoln himself.
What is your name, soldier?
Martin Emery, sir.
Where were you born, Martin?
In Vermont, in a log cabin.
I was born in a log cabin, too.
I know. Mother told me. She said someday I might get to be a president like you.
All mothers say that, Martin. What did your father say?
I don't know. You see, he's away. He used to be a cobbler, but now he's your soldier.
What's his regiment, and where is he now?
The lump in Martin's throat was growing worse. It was difficult to answer.
The 1st Vermont.
Then the sobs came.
He's in Andersonville prison.
In another moment, the man had taken Martin's place on the steps and was holding Martin folded into his lap, holding the little boy whose sobbing had been so long kept back. When Martin grew quieter, the man began to talk.
Vermont is a long way off. Tell me, how do you happen to be here, Martin?
Father went to war. He was stationed at a fort near Alexandria. So, After a time, he found a house near the fort and sent for Mother and me and the girls. At first, we saw Father often. Then one night, when some of the soldiers were sent out to take a railroad bridge, Father was captured. He was sent to prison.
And how does your mother manage to take care of you?
Well, folks help. The soldiers, Father's friends, bring their washing and their mending to her. They pay her as much as they can. The soldiers give us cloth for our clothes, too. And Snowden helps. Snowden's my friend. He sells vegetables. Snowden fills a basket under the seat with vegetables and calls them leftovers. He gives the basket to Mother, but the vegetables aren't leftovers. Not really.
It seems to me, Martin, that part of this job of helping belongs to the Army. I will speak to somebody, and I'm pretty sure there will be food from the Army stores every week for your mother. Things that Snowden and the soldiers can't supply, like butter and eggs and other things.
There wasn't any lump in Martin's throat now. He felt wonderful. Abraham Lincoln raised himself to his feet. Then, suddenly, a deep frown grew between his eyes.
It's my shoe, Martin. There's a nail sticking right into my foot, and I keep forgetting to have it fixed.
I can help you. Wait.
Martin darted off to find some stones. When he came back, Lincoln sat there on the step with his shoe off. Martin slipped one stone inside the great shoe. With the other, he pounded hard on the sole.
My father showed me how. He's a good cobbler.
I'd like to be a cobbler myself, Martin. A good cobbler.
Martin heard Nellie's bell coming down the street. Oh, but he finished the shoe and gave it to Abraham Lincoln. The great man stood up and set his foot down carefully. Then he pressed harder. Oh, there was no frown between Lincoln's eyes now.
It's a good job, Martin. It feels just fine. You have helped me, Martin, more than you know.
Martin said nothing. He only slipped his hand inside Abraham Lincoln's. They were waiting on the steps when Snowden and Nellie arrived. Snowden's mouth popped wide open and he swept off his hat. Lincoln lifted his hat in return. Then Abraham Lincoln put Martin on the seat beside Snowden and said,
"Goodbye, soldier."
Martin saluted, and Nellie started toward home. And that was Martin and Abraham Lincoln by Catherine Coblentz. I think I'm glad I didn't live during Civil War days. How about you? See you again real soon here in the attic? I hope so. Goodbye.
The preceding program was made possible by a grant from the Ohio Department of Education.